My name is Jennifer Walsh. I spent 3 years trying to create life with my husband. I had no idea he was using my medical access to enhance his life with someone else. I'm 34 years old, an ICU nurse at Denver General Hospital. For 11 years, I've saved lives, monitored vital signs, and made sure patients got exactly the medications they needed to heal. I'm good at my job because I pay attention to details. I notice when something's wrong. I catch problems before they become critical. But somehow I missed the biggest problem of all, the one that was slowly killing my marriage. Let me take you back to 3 months ago. I'd just finished another brutal 12-hour shift in the ICU, 3 cardiac arrests, 2 intubations, and 1 family who screamed at me because their father didn't make it. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and all I wanted was to come home to Mark and maybe talk about scheduling another fertility appointment. We'd been trying for 3 years. 3 years of hope and disappointment, of tracking ovulation and timing everything perfectly, of watching our savings account shrink with every specialist visit. Mark always said he supported me, that we'd keep trying as long as it took. I pulled into our driveway and saw Mark's silver BMW parked there, but there was another car too, a red Honda Civic that looked familiar. The windows were down on both cars. It was a warm evening in May. I sat in my car for a moment trying to place the Honda when I saw movement in Mark's passenger seat. My heart stopped. There was a woman in my husband's car, not just any woman, Ashley Chen. I recognized her immediately from the hospital. She worked in physical therapy on the 2nd floor, pretty, young, always perfectly put together in a way that made me feel frumpy in my scrubs. And she was wearing my anniversary necklace, the white gold pendant with the small diamond that Mark had given me 2 years ago, saying it was a consolation gift after another failed pregnancy test. I watched, frozen, as Mark leaned over and kissed her. Not a quick peck, a deep, passionate kiss that made my stomach turn inside out. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and started recording. I had to document this. I had to have proof. I parked closer, my car hidden behind our neighbour's SUV. Ashley pulled back, laughing about something. With the warm evening air and their windows down, I could hear every word. "Your wife is so clueless," Ashley said, her voice carrying clearly in the quiet neighbourhood. "Does she really think you're working late every Thursday?" Mark chuckled. "Jennifer's too busy saving other people to notice her own marriage dying. Besides, she's been so obsessed with getting pregnant, she barely pays attention to anything else." "At least she's useful," Ashley replied, adjusting my necklace around her throat. "Those pain meds you get from her hospital access are incredible, way better than anything I could get through normal channels." The words hit me like a defibrillator shock. Pain medications, hospital access, my access. "Speaking of which," Mark said, "I grabbed some more samples from her locker yesterday. The good stuff. Morphine, Percocet, even some fentanyl patches." Ashley's eyes lit up. "Perfect. My private clients pay premium for pharmaceutical-grade pain relief. Your wife's hospital badge is like a golden ticket." I stopped recording. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady, clinical. But inside I was screaming. Mark was using my medical access to steal controlled substances. Ashley was distributing them illegally. And they were doing it while discussing my fertility struggles like they were some kind of joke. I waited until they drove away together, Ashley still wearing my necklace. Then I sat in my car for 20 minutes, crying until I couldn't breathe. When the tears stopped, something else took their place. Something cold and methodical. I went inside and did what any good nurse does when she suspects something's wrong. I started gathering evidence. When your husband uses your medical expertise to drug his mistress, what's the prescription for revenge? Subscribe for more stories where karma gets the best medicine. Have you ever discovered your partner was using your professional access against you? Drop your answer in the comments. For the next 6 weeks, I methodically gathered evidence. I didn't confront Mark. I didn't break down crying. I became the ICU nurse who'd seen every kind of emergency and knew exactly what to do. I documented everything, but it wasn't easy. Some nights I'd sit in my car after my shift, staring at our house, wondering if I was losing my mind. Maybe Mark was right. Maybe I was so obsessed with getting pregnant that I'd imagined everything. Maybe I was seeing betrayal where there was only innocent friendship. But then I'd remember the recording, the words I'd heard with my own ears, the evidence I'd documented with my own hands. First, I checked my hospital badge access logs online. As an ICU nurse, I had legitimate access to my own usage records for scheduling and security purposes. What I found made me sick. My badge had been used during times when I was provably elsewhere. Mark had been using it for months. The pattern was clear. Every Thursday when Mark claimed to be working late, my badge accessed the medication storage room at times when I was either at home or working a different floor. Then I started paying attention to things I'd been too distracted to notice before. Mark's gym bag by the bedroom door. I found my missing prescription pad hidden under his seat. In his glove compartment there were small bottles of medication samples with my initials on requisition forms, medications I'd never requested. But the personal betrayal cut deeper than the professional theft. I started searching our bedroom more carefully. Ashley's earrings in my jewellery box, her expensive perfume hidden behind my medical textbooks, a bottle of hair products I'd never seen before in my shower. The most devastating discovery came 2 weeks later when I was doing laundry. Hidden in Mark's gym bag was my mother's fertility bracelet, the silver chain with tiny charms my mother had given me when we started trying for a baby. Each charm represented hope, a stork, a heart, a tiny baby shoe. My mother had worn it when she was trying to conceive me. He'd given it to Ashley, but she was smart enough not to wear it at work. The betrayal was just as devastating, but now it made sense why I hadn't noticed it missing sooner. I needed more information. I started talking to Lisa, my closest colleague in the ICU. We'd been friends for 5 years. She'd held my hand through every negative pregnancy test, every failed fertility treatment. "Lisa," I said one day during our break, "have you noticed anything unusual about Mark when he visits me at work?" She looked uncomfortable. "Jen, I don't know if I should say anything. Please, I need to know." "Honey," she said finally, "we all knew. We just didn't know how to tell you. Ashley's been bragging about it for months." The words felt like a scalpel to the chest. "Bragging about what?" "About stealing your husband, about how easy it was because you were so focused on getting pregnant. She said Mark told her intimate things about your fertility treatments, about how desperate you were getting." I had to excuse myself to the bathroom. I threw up twice, then splashed cold water on my face until the nausea passed. When I came back, Lisa was waiting with more information I didn't want to hear. "The cafeteria staff have seen them together for months. Mark takes her to Angelo's every Thursday night. Isn't that your favourite restaurant?" It was. It was where Mark had proposed, where we celebrated every anniversary, where he took me on my birthday. Except last year I'd worked a double shift and he said he'd make it up to me later. He never did. I started leaving Mark's phone alone when he showered, but paying attention when he left it unlocked on our kitchen counter. One evening, while he was outside grilling dinner, I quickly photographed screen after screen of text messages between him and Ashley. The messages were devastating, not just the affair, but the cruelty. Ashley to Mark. "Your wife is so pathetic, desperate for a baby at her age. Does she really think those fertility treatments are going to work?" Mark to Ashley. "Jennifer cries after every negative test. It's actually kind of sad. But hey, more money for us when she finally gives up trying." Ashley to Mark. I can't believe you told me about her fertility bracelet, the one from her dead mother. That's so pathetic. Good thing I'm already pregnant and won't need that kind of desperate superstition. I had to read that last message 3 times before it sank in. Ashley was pregnant with Mark's baby. While I was spending thousands of dollars trying to conceive, Mark was creating a family with someone else. The financial investigation came next. I found bank statements Mark had left on his desk, showing transfers from our fertility treatment savings to pay for Ashley's apartment. $15,000. 3 years of saving every penny, skipping vacations, eating ramen noodles so we could afford another round of treatments. Gone. The expensive jewellery Ashley wore, the designer clothes, the new car, all paid for with money we'd saved hoping for a miracle. But Mark wasn't just stealing from our present, he was stealing from our future. I discovered receipts showing he'd been selling my sample medications to fund their lifestyle. Ashley's physical therapy practice had grown exponentially because she could offer pharmaceutical-grade pain relief to her private clients. They weren't just having an affair, they were running a criminal enterprise using my medical license as collateral. Mark wasn't completely clueless, though. 2 days before I made my final move, he asked me, "Jen, you've been different lately. Quieter. Is everything okay?" For a moment I wondered if he suspected, but then he kissed my forehead and said, "I love how dedicated you are to your work." He still saw me as the oblivious wife, too busy with patients to notice her crumbling marriage. I needed professional help. I called Maria Santos, a DEA agent who'd been my patient 2 years ago. I'd saved her life when she came in with a gunshot wound during a drug bust gone wrong. "Jennifer," she said when I explained the situation, "this isn't just adultery, this is federal prescription fraud. You could lose your license. You could go to prison." "I'm the victim here," I said. "I know, but on paper, it's your badge, your access. We need to build an airtight case proving you weren't involved. Jennifer, if you're wrong about this, we're both in trouble. I need you to be absolutely certain before I can help you." I showed her everything, the photographs of text messages, the bank statements, the medication bottles with forged requisitions, the timeline of badge usage during my fertility appointments. Maria studied the evidence for what felt like hours. Finally, she looked up. "This is solid, Jennifer, but I need you to understand something. If we move forward with this, there's no going back. Your marriage is over. Mark and Ashley will face serious federal charges. Are you ready for that?" I thought about my mother's fertility bracelet hidden in Mark's gym bag, about Mark kissing Ashley in our driveway while she wore my anniversary gift, about the baby they'd created with money stolen from our dreams. "I'm ready," I said. The countdown started when Lisa told me something that made my blood freeze. Mark had been asking questions about my work schedule, specifically when I'd be working nights the following week. "He said he wanted to plan something special for your anniversary," Lisa said. "But, Jennifer, your anniversary isn't for 3 months. I knew what he was really planning. One final theft, enough controlled substances to set him and Ashley up for months. And then he'd disappear with her, leaving me to face the DEA investigation when the missing drugs were inevitably traced back to my access codes. He used our baby fund to pay for her apartment, our baby fund, Lisa, the money we saved hoping for a miracle. Now I had 72 hours to save myself before Mark and Ashley disappeared with their stolen fortune and left me facing federal charges. I became a nurse to save lives. Time to save my own. I had a plan. It was surgical in its precision, methodical in its execution, and devastating in its scope. Mark and Ashley thought they were so clever, using my medical access to fund their affair and their future together. They forgot one crucial detail. Nurses don't just dispense medications. We monitor patients, We watch for complications, and we know exactly what to do when we spot an infection that needs to be cut out. The setup had to be perfect. I scheduled a surprise anniversary dinner at the hospital cafeteria during evening shift change. Maximum witnesses, maximum humiliation. I told Mark it was to celebrate our marriage in the place where we'd met 8 years ago when he was selling pharmaceutical equipment to the hospital. I invited everyone. Hospital colleagues, Mark's pharmaceutical clients, Ashley's physical therapy team, even Mark's boss from MedTech Solutions. I told them all it was a surprise celebration of our love and commitment. Ashley was the hardest to convince, but I had a plan for that too. Ashley, this is Jennifer Walsh, Mark's wife. I need to speak with you about Mark's pharmaceutical access at the hospital. There's been some irregularities that could affect both of us professionally. Can you meet me tomorrow evening? Hospital cafeteria, 7 p.m. It's important we discuss this privately before administration gets involved. Ashley's voice was cautious but interested. What kind of irregularities? The kind that could cost us both our licenses if we don't handle this correctly. I'll explain everything tomorrow. She agreed immediately. Ashley thought I'd discovered the drug theft, but not the affair. She wanted to control the damage, maybe even find a way to pin everything on Mark. She had no idea what kind of presentation I'd prepared. The DEA agents were positioned throughout the cafeteria, disguised as hospital security and maintenance staff. Maria had wired me with a recording device. Everything that happened next would be documented for the federal case against Mark and Ashley. At exactly 7 p.m. I stood up in front of the crowded cafeteria. Mark was sitting at the head table looking confused but pleased. Ashley sat beside him, looking nervous but trying to appear confident. She'd been smart enough not to wear my anniversary necklace tonight, probably left it at home to avoid any awkward questions. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my marriage, I began, my voice carrying clearly across the room. 8 years of dedication, 3 years of trying for a baby, and 6 months of my husband using my medical access to fund his affair with his pregnant mistress. The room went dead silent. Mark's face went white. Ashley started to stand, but I held up my hand. Please, sit down, Ashley. We're not finished. I clicked a remote, and the cafeteria's presentation screen lit up with photos. Mark and Ashley kissing in his car, Ashley wearing my necklace, bank statements showing money transferred from our fertility fund to Ashley's apartment deposit. These photos were taken 3 months ago, I announced, gesturing to the screen. The necklace you see Ashley wearing in this photo was supposed to be my consolation gift for another failed pregnancy attempt. I notice you chose not to wear it tonight, Ashley. Smart move. Ashley's hand instinctively went to her bare throat, her face flushing with recognition and fear. Ashley tried to recover, standing up with practiced concern. Jennifer, I'm glad you called me here. I've been worried about Mark's behaviour lately. Some of the things he's asked me to do. She was trying to paint herself as another victim, manipulated by Mark. It almost worked. I could see some faces in the crowd softening with sympathy for her. Really, Ashley? I clicked to the next slide. Let's talk about Mark's behaviour. Let's talk about you using my hospital badge to steal controlled substances. Let's talk about you distributing those medications to your private clients. The screen showed photographs of text messages between Mark and Ashley. Messages I'd captured when Mark left his phone unlocked on our kitchen counter. Let me read some of these aloud. Ashley to Mark. Your wife's hospital badge is like a golden ticket. My clients love the pharmaceutical grade stuff. Mark to Ashley. Grabbed more samples today. Jennifer's so obsessed with getting pregnant, she doesn't even check her locker anymore. The hospital administrator, Dr. Peterson, stood up from his table. Jennifer, these are serious allegations. They're not allegations, Dr. Peterson, they're documented facts. I handed him a thick folder. Hospital security footage showing Mark using my badge at times when I was provably off-site. medication bottles with forged requisition forms bearing my signature, financial records showing the systematic theft of our fertility treatment savings. Mark was sweating now, his pharmaceutical clients staring at him in horror. His boss from MedTech Solutions was already on his phone, probably with the company's legal department, but I wasn't done. The personal humiliation was just beginning. "Let's talk about intimacy," I said, clicking to a new slide showing more text messages. "Ashley, you sent some interesting messages about me to Mark. Let me share them with everyone." Ashley's face went ashen. "You can't. Those were private." "Were they?" I read from the screen. "Ashley to Mark. Your wife is so pathetic, desperate for a baby at her age. Does she really think those fertility treatments are going to work?" Mark to Ashley. "Jennifer cries after every negative test. It's actually kind of sad. But hey, more money for us when she finally gives up." The room was completely silent except for the sound of Ashley's sharp breathing. Mark looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Here's my personal favourite," I continued. "Ashley to Mark. I can't believe you told me about her fertility bracelet. The one from her dead mother? That's so pathetic. Good thing I'm already pregnant and won't need that kind of desperate superstition." I paused, letting that sink in. "Congratulations on your pregnancy, Ashley. I photographed that particular message last week. I hope you used better judgment with birth control than you did with professional ethics." Ashley was shaking now. How did you know?" "I'm a nurse, Ashley. I pay attention to details, including text messages left open on kitchen counters." Mark finally found the courage to speak. "Jennifer, please, we can work this out. I made mistakes, but..." "Mistakes?" I laughed, and it sounded cold even to my own ears. "Mark, you used our baby fund for her apartment. Our baby fund. The money we saved hoping for a miracle. I guess you found a way to make a family after all." Dr. Peterson was reviewing the evidence folder, his expression growing darker by the minute. "Mark, Ashley, I'm going to have to ask you both to come with me. Hospital security needs to speak with you immediately." That's when Maria Santos stepped forward, showing her DEA badge. "Actually, Dr. Peterson, they're coming with us. Mark Walsh, Ashley Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, prescription fraud, and theft of federal narcotics." The handcuffs clicked around Mark's wrists with a sound that was more satisfying than any wedding bells I'd ever heard. "You documented everything," Mark said, staring at me in disbelief. "Even our private conversations." I smiled for the first time in months. "I've been documenting everything for 6 weeks, Mark. Every text message you left open on our kitchen counter. Every bank statement you left on your desk. Every medication bottle you hid in your car. I'm a nurse. Documentation is what I do." As the DEA agents led them away, I addressed the room one final time. "Prescription filled, marriage terminated. Patient will survive." 18 months later, the changes in my life were significant but realistic. The legal consequences for Mark and Ashley were severe. Mark was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for prescription fraud and drug distribution. He lost his pharmaceutical license permanently and will never work in the medical industry again. His company, MedTech Solutions, sued him for breach of contract and reputation damage, winning a settlement that wiped out his remaining assets. Ashley lost her physical therapy license and faced 18 months in prison. The stress of the criminal proceedings caused complications with her pregnancy, requiring expensive medical care she couldn't afford. She was forced to move back in with her parents, where she now works as a cashier at a pharmacy, constantly reminded of the career she threw away. Both were ordered to pay restitution to the hospital and affected patients, a debt that will follow them for decades. Mark's family sided with me completely, cutting him off financially and emotionally. His mother called me personally to apologize and to tell me that Mark was no longer welcome at family gatherings. His pharmaceutical industry colleagues blacklisted him, ensuring he'd never find work in his field again. Mark's prison job is in the medical waste disposal unit, making 23 cents an hour handling the same types of medications he used to steal. Ashley works surrounded daily by the prescription medications she used to sell illegally. But not everyone at the hospital was supportive of me. Some colleagues whispered that I should have noticed the theft sooner, or questioned whether I was really as innocent as I claimed. Dr. Peterson backed me publicly, but I could feel the scrutiny. It took months to rebuild complete trust. My professional recovery was gradual but meaningful. I received a promotion to Senior Medication Safety Coordinator with a 20% salary increase. The hospital implemented new protocols based on my recommendations, though they simply called it Enhanced Medication Monitoring. My consulting work started small, helping 2 local clinics review their procedures. Word spread gradually, and I now work with facilities throughout Colorado. It's not the overnight success story people imagine, but it's steady, meaningful work that I'm proud of. The divorce settlement gave me 60% of our assets, fair given Mark's criminal activity, but not the windfall some expected. I used the money wisely, buying a modest house and investing in my education to become a certified fraud examiner. I started a support group for healthcare workers who've been betrayed by spouses who exploited their professional access. We meet monthly at the hospital, and membership has grown to over 20 people. Turns out, professional betrayal is more common than anyone wants to admit. Most importantly, I began fertility treatments again. This time not to save a marriage, but to create the family I actually wanted. My fertility specialist, Dr. Martinez, offered me a payment plan after hearing about my case. She said she was inspired by my strength and wanted to help me achieve my dreams on my own terms. Mark thought he could use my medical expertise against me. He forgot that nurses don't just heal patients. We protect them from people like him. He stole my medications, my money, and my marriage. But he couldn't steal my skills, my strength, or my future. I spent 3 years trying to create life with the wrong person. Now I'm creating the life I actually want. They say the best medicine is prevention, but sometimes you don't know you're sick until the symptoms become undeniable. Mark overdosed on my trust. Ashley was allergic to professional ethics. The prescription for justice: document everything, trust your instincts, and remember, nurses don't just save patients. Sometimes we save ourselves. And sometimes the patient who needs saving most is the one looking back at you in the mirror. Have you ever had someone use your professional skills against you? Share your story in the comments. If you believe justice should be administered with medical precision, subscribe to Whispers of Revenge. What would you do if you found your husband using your career to fund his affair? Let me know below, because here at Whispers of Revenge, we don't just get mad, we get methodical, and we always follow the proper dosage for justice.